Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new, please subscribe. So this is a video that is my first impression, swatches, tutorial, demo, and just opinion about the palette Sunset Strip by Too Faced. This is not sponsored. I have plenty of tutorials using the Born This Way, the Natural Nudes palette. I compare some swatches from both these palettes. So I have plenty of tutorials using the Born This Way Natural Nudes palette, and I cannot wait to create many tutorials using the Sunset Strip palette. This palette is perfect for spring, and just look at them side by side. Like, I feel like with two palettes like this in your collection, you are set. And they're really not that big, you know, for how many eyeshadows you get together. So you can take these traveling and you're gonna have like everything you need in these two palettes right here. So we're just gonna jump right into the swatches and my opinion about each shadow and comparison to the Born This Way Natural Nudes palette, and then I have a first impression tutorial using this palette. So here she is, Born This Way Sunset Stripped palette by Too Faced, and this is fresh out the box, just opening up this palette. And you can purchase this at Ulta or Sephora, and it retails for $52. And first, we're going to start with the matte swatches. The first shade is called High Tide. This is like a really good transition shade if you're very fair, or it can be a lid shade, and it's a peachy orange tone. And the next transition shade is Nude Beach. It blends out very nice on my arm, and it's a really good transition shade. The next matte shade is Sun Chaser. It's just a tad bit darker than Nude Beach. Also a really good transition shade or outer V shade, and also blends out really nice. At first I thought it was going to be a little patchy, but then I continue to blend it out and it blends out very nice. And the next matte shade is a light shade, which makes it kind of odd that it's out of line here, but it's called Butter Pecan. It's like a peachish pink shade. Sorry, I swatched it out of frame here. But it reminds me a lot of Makeup Geek used to have an eyeshadow. It was like peaches and cream, but it reminds me of that eyeshadow. And the next matte shade is Golden Hour. This is like a matte mauve transition shade. All these mattes blend out very nice. And so this shade I'm just blending out on my arm. It blended out very nice, and it's like a mauve rose transition shade. The next matte shade is Chai Times. This is like a burgundy brown matte shade, and it reminds me a little bit of Max and Bark, but Mac and Bark's a little bit darker, I think, and it blends out very nice on my arm. And the next matte shade is Cocoa Glow. This is a true chocolate matte brown, really pretty shade. And look at my finger. These shades are so pigmented that there's like this shininess to them, but they blend out very matte and nice and smooth on my arm. The next shade is Black Sand. This is the darkest matte shade in the palette. And this is the one that disappointed me. It's really not that pigmented when I swatch it. And it's called Black Sand, but it's really a dark, dark brown shade. And I apologize for swatching these out of frame. I just really wanted to make sure I was getting all the sunlight and natural light, and sometimes I was out of frame. And you can see that I'm really trying to blend that shadow on my arm, and it's just not showing up. But I was very surprised at that. And those are all the matte shades in the Born This Way Sunset Stripped palette. And the first shimmer in the palette is called Shall We Dance. I love that name, and it's such a pretty, sparkly, whitish shade. So when this one swatches, it turns out to be just this nice glittery shimmer shade, and it has like a purple hue to it. It's almost like holographic, but it's not, and it's just like this nice sheer purpley sparkle. And the next shimmer shade is called Sun's Out. This is a really nice bronze brown shade. This is really good for everyday makeup. I'm sorry again for swatching these out of frame, and I will do better next time. And the next shimmer is called Surfboard. This is a really pretty purpley gold shade. At first it doesn't look purple, it looks like a dark brown, but when swatched, you can see that it is purple and it has this beautiful gold purple shimmer to it. It's absolutely stunning, and it's called Surfboard. And the next shimmer is called Shell Yeah. Again, such a cute name. And this is another white shimmery shade. It blends out as like a glittery shimmer with a pink hue, just like the first shade, but this one's more pink. And the next shimmer is called Hey Honey. This is a darker coppery golden shade. It's super pretty, and all these shimmers blend out so buttery smooth. You can tell they have nice oils in these shimmers, and you can see here them blending it out. It's a perfect copper shade. It reminds me a lot of matte copper ring. And the next shimmer is called So So Hot. This is a darker brown bronze shimmer shade, really stunning, almost a little bit of burgundy, just like the previous shade, a little bit of coppery but more burgundy. And the next shimmer is a chocolate, very pretty brown shimmer. It's called Bonfire Babes, and it's very nice and dark shimmery. Love this shade. This is a perfect bronze, smoky, shimmery shade. And the last shimmer is a light shimmer, which again, kind of out of order, but it's called Sandy Cheeks. And this is a really pretty light, shimmery, glitter, champagne-y shade, and I use this in my tutorial. And that completes all the swatches for the Born This Way Sunset Striped palette. And so these palettes side by side, they're very similar but also very different, if that makes any sense. But I love these two palettes. I think the combination of these two, you are set if you have these in your collection. And I'm just going to compare some shades here that are similar. So I'm going to compare Hey Honey, which is that coppery shade in the Sunset palette, and I'm going to compare that to Golden Light in the Natural Nudes palette. And they're just two gold shades that are somewhat similar, but the Hey Honey is more copper tone. And you can see here that Golden Light, the shade in the Natural Nudes palette, is a really pretty true golden shade, but they are a little similar. Next, I'm going to compare Bonfire Babes, which is that really nice true chocolate shimmery shade in the Sunset palette, and I'm going to compare it to Sugared Chestnut in the Natural Nudes palette. They're both just really nice dark brown chocolatey shimmer shades. Once again, if you are a natural nude eyeshadow kind of girl, these two palettes will not disappoint. And they're so small you could pack these on a trip and you are set. Alright guys, so I'm going to create an everyday makeup look using this palette. This is the Born This Way Sunset Stripped palette. First shade I'm going to go in with is, I'm going to go in with Nude Beach. That looks like a perfect everyday transition shade. I'm going to go in with my Morphe L'Oreal A11. Wow. It's a little darker than I thought it was going to be, but it's blending out like a dream. I'm gonna go ahead with the other eye in the same Nude Beach shade. Look at that. It blended out so nice. So I was excited for this palette, but then the comment section, people were not excited for this palette. They were saying they thought it was like so overdone, just another nude palette, blah blah blah, and I was actually really surprised because I thought the color, I don't know, I thought this had a really nice unique setup, like the darker shade here. I don't know, it's just like different than the other ones. But yeah, so then I was like, well, why am I excited? No one else is excited. I was like, it's interesting. And I wasn't even gonna get this palette because it just seemed like I already had the Born This Way. They seemed to be awfully similar. I don't know. I was like gonna get it and I was like, maybe I shouldn't because I really don't need any more eyeshadow palettes. But I am so happy I got this palette. Next, I'm just gonna take that shade, Sun Chaser. It's a little bit darker than this transition shade. And I'm gonna put that like up into this crease area. I'm using an L'Oreal 820. So I'm just gonna blend that up here. Ooh. For every day, I would definitely put this on my outer V, but I'm gonna do a little more of a dramatic look just because I wanna play with way more shades. So stinking pretty. So there, a little smokiness on the outer crease area. Same brush, I'm gonna go in with, this is hard, I don't know if I wanna do the, actually yeah, I'm gonna go in with the Chai Times shade. Go in with an L'Oreal A29. Going in with the shade Chai Times. It's like a maroonish shade, maroon brown, and I'm gonna put that in my outer V. I have eyelash glue on my lashes. Please ignore that. That is from creating tutorials. Ooh. I like this brush for the outer V. Blend it out nice. It's like a little maroon smokiness going on. Do that to the other side. But I like how this is like a neutral palette and there's these pops of colors like this maroon. I think these pops of colors for me are super wearable because when I play with pops of colors, it's usually maroons, pinks, and sometimes purples, but wearable pinks, purples, maroons. And I think in this palette, the shade's a little purple, but it's wearable. You know, you got this like maroonish brown shimmer right here. And some of these shimmery, sparkly shades have a little bit of iridescent pink and purple to them, but it's so subtle that it's totally wearable without just being like over the top, because I personally am a neutral kind of girl. I know I like creating tutorials with pops of color, but I am a neutral kind of girl, preferably. But I love playing with makeup, so I always enjoy playing with color. So I just kind of blended that maroon like kind of all over. I didn't want to be just focused on my outer V. So nice. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and grab that same shade, same brush, and just put it underneath my eye here. So wearable. It's like a really pretty maroonish brown shade, and this would actually look really good on hazel eyes. Hazel girls out there would love this shade. So a little patchy here, just a little. I primed my eyes with e.l.f. Camo Concealer and then some NARS Crystal Translucent Setting Powder. But alright, so now this is tough because at first I thought I wanted to do like a wearable everyday eye look, but this is looking a little bit more dramatic. You know this is a good palette when you really cannot decide on what shimmer you want to go in. I really like this shimmer. These two, this has the purple iridescent and this has the pink iridescent. And this one is right next to Chai Times, you know, like they're like the same color there, just a shimmer and a matte. But I think I'm gonna go on with that shimmer. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that shimmer. Okay, so I'm just gonna use my finger because a wet brush will probably make it way too intense, but these are insane shimmers. Like if you go with a wet brush, it's insane. Okay, so Sandy Cheeks. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go on with a wet brush. So, Chondria Miracle Mist by Tarte. I'm gonna wet my brush. And then I'm going to go in with Sandy Cheeks. And I'm gonna apply that here. Ooh. Yes, that is pretty. That is so spring pretty. So spring pretty. Alright, I'm gonna get my brush wet again and go in with Sandy Cheeks. So I think I got this side a little bit more wet than that side because they look a little different. It's okay. That is okay. How pretty. That is like the prettiest natural everyday eyeshadow look. Or not look, but perfect shimmery. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It's really more subtle than I thought it would be. Something must have gotten on my brush because my brush made this little darkness in there. Do you see that? I don't like that. That is so pretty. I think I dragged my shimmer up way too high though, but I'm just gonna go with it. Pretty. Alright, and so just for fun, I think I'm gonna add a little bit of So Hot shimmer to the outer areas. Like that. Pretty. And then I'm just gonna take my brush and just brush that, what's that, Sandy Cheeks over it so it's like more diffused into the look. Pretty. Actually gonna go in with some nude eyeliners. This LA Girl Super Bright, what is it? Yeah, Super Bright nude eyeliner in my waterline. Apply some of the Essence Pure Nude highlight to my inner corner. Alright guys, that completes my first impression tutorial using the new Too Faced Sunset Strip palette. And I'm really excited to play with this palette. I think there's perfect shades for everyday eye looks. And then of course there's shades that you can play with, like pops of colors that are like on the safe side. And yeah, I'm really excited. These lashes are super dramatic, by the way. I forgot how dramatic these lashes are before I put them on. But I would definitely prefer a more natural lash with this look. But that completes my first impression with the Born This Way Sunset Strip palette. There'll be many more tutorials using this palette. So I will see you in my next tutorial.